Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Ndifon Ntui, and on this channel I post new tutorials. I post new videos every Wednesdays and Saturdays, so please make sure to check back on those days to watch new content. In this video, I'm going to show you how to cut the bottom part of the dress that we've been working on for 3 videos now. So my last 2 videos showed how I made the top part, so this is how to cut the bottom part. It's an 8-piece, so I'll show you how to cut it, and you can also apply this method if you are trying to cut an 8-piece skirt. Alright, so if you like the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on post notifications so that you will know whenever a new video drops. If you're a beginner or if you're a person that wants to brush up on your skill, I offer online courses. I'll be showing a demo how to make a jumpsuit for you to watch and see if learning online will be convenient for you. If you're interested, send a Telegram message to the number that you can see on the screen. Please, not WhatsApp anymore. Send a message to my Telegram. Alright, so do enjoy the video, do enjoy the rest of your day. Have a nice day. Bye bye. Alright, you're welcome to today's video. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how to make the bottom part of the dress that we have been working on. So this is an image of the dress that we've been working on in the past 2 videos. So the first video, I showed how to draft this bodice you can see here and how to install the crystals that are in the center. So I'm going to teach you guys how to cut the bottom part of this dress that's an 8-piece, and the method I'm going to use here is also applicable if you are cutting an 8-piece dress. All right, an 8-piece skirt. Unlike a regular skirt that I'll place the waist measurement at the waist, here I'm going to bring it all the way up because I want to attach my waist, my joining here. So I'm going to have to bring it up to increase the number, but it's still going to follow the same basic principles. Anyway, I'll give you tips on how to alter the method I'm about to give you if you are cutting a skirt as opposed to a piece that's supposed to complete a dress. All right, now the measurements that you need are going to be your waist, your hip, and your skirt length. Okay, also you're going to need the distance from the shoulder to your knee or from the waist to your knee. Okay, in my case, my shoulder to my knee is 40. Okay, my shoulder to my knee is 40 inches. If you are making a skirt, you're going to need to go from the person's waist to the person's knee in order to know where the knee measurement is, because it's supposed to come from up, taper into the bottom, and then open up. Okay, taper in at the knee and then flare out at the bottom. So you need to know that measurements. After you have these measurements for all your horizontal measurements, now when I say horizontal measurements, I'm talking about measurements like the waist. All right, like the waist measurements, the hip measurements. You're going to need to divide those measurements into 16. Now I know that we are making an 8-piece skirt, all right, but now check this out. If I do 42, which is the hip measurement that I'm working with, 42 divided by 8 is going to give me 5.25. Now because I'm going to be cutting everything on a fold, I'm going to cut the center piece and use that to cut all the other pieces. I'm going to show you how to change it for different parts of the pieces. So because I'm going to use the center piece, I'm cutting the center piece first, and you know when you're cutting the center piece, you always have to keep your fabric on a fold. Okay, so now because of that, we're going to have to divide that measurement by 2, because when you keep something on a fold, you divided it into 2 places. Now remember, if you divide 42 by 8, it gives you 5.25. Now after you fold it, which means you have bent that 5.25, you are now left with 2.6. and if you just go straight and do 42 divided by 16, it will give you 2.6. so for all the measurements going around, divide them by 16 instead of 8 in order to avoid the 2 steps of multiplication that you have to do. Just do 1 instead of doing 2. So divide your waist by 16, divide your hip by 16. Okay, so when you do that, get your pattern paper and meet you on the table. And for those of us that don't have a strong grip on math, I'm using, instead of dividing by 8, I'm dividing by 16, because 8 times 2 is 16. Okay, so if you use 16 to multiply something, it will give you the answer that using 8 2 times would give to you, just to clear up any confusion on why I'm using 16. Okay, so now I've kept my paper. It's time for me to start drafting. Now I'm using the pattern I'm drafting, I intend to use it at the bottom of a dress. So it's going to be slightly different from what I would do if I'm making a skirt. But like I said, I'm going to give you all the tips. Now the first line I'm going to rule here is 1/2 inch from the top. So 1/2 inch away from the top of the paper. Okay, I'm going to draw a line 1/2 inch. This is going to serve as the joining that this is going to serve as the allowance I'm going to use for joining the top here to the top part of the dress. And if you are making a skirt, that's the part that you're going to use for if you're adding a band or something like that. Okay, if you're adding a band or if you're doing turning, you're going to need something like that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to place all my vertical measurements. Now my vertical measurements are measurements that are coming from the top going down, so from your waist to your hip, from your waist to your knee, and the skirt lengths that you are working with. Now for my waist to from this line here to where I'm going to place my hip, in my own case is going to be 9 inches. Okay, now it is 9 inches because I want to join this to the the bottom part of the bodice that I showed you earlier. If I was making a skirt by itself, that's to be one with the top, I will place 8 inches here instead of 9. Okay, so this 9 inches I just placed here, I will place 8 inches instead. Now if you are making the next thing that we have to place the distance from the waist to the knee. If I was making a skirt, it will sit around between 20 or 18, you know, there about, depending on how tall the person is, but it always sits between 18 and 22. Okay, so it depends. You need to take the measurement of the person. Now because I'm making a dress, the measurements from my waist to my knee is from my waist to my knee. It's not the waist to the knee, it's the shoulder to the knee. In this case I have 40 for the shoulder to the knee. Okay, so now what I'm doing is let me show you this again. From the neckline here, okay, where I took the dress length from here up here, okay, to this joining here is 18 inches. From up here to here is 18. From where I took my shoulder to 1/2 inch before the end is 18 inches. Now 18 inches is my underbust length, you know, this is where the cut is. That's a whole nother story. Let's try to avoid that talk. But go and see the video to understand how everything that was done there. So if we are placing the measurements now, you are going to now push your tape up. Okay, if you are making a dress, you're going to come here and place 18 inches, and then you're going to mark where the person's knee is. So for me it's 40. That's where the person's knee is going to sit, and I've made a mark over there. Okay, if I was making a regular skirt, okay, I was going to come to here and place whatever knee points that we have. All right, that's what I'll do. I'll place my 1 inch here, mark whether it's 20, 22, 18, wherever the person's knee is, I'll make a mark there. All right, now the next thing we need to know is this. If you are making, now we know that a PC skirt is supposed to come, you know, snug at the waist, open up at the hip, close up at the bottom of the around the person's knee. Now if you are making a PC skirt or a dress for a person that intends to use it for only photo shoot purposes, okay, just to take a picture and the person is done with it, you know, if you are taking an approach of if your approach is style over function and comfort, you will place your knee measurements, whatever you divide for your knee measurements, down here, which I will tell you, because I have not told you that we took the measurements around the person's knee. Okay, I've not said anything like knee round yet. Okay, so what was I saying? There's so much running through my mind. Get your thoughts together. Yes, so if you are making it for a person that intends to use it for a photo shoot only, you are going to leave the knee measurement as where it's supposed to be. At me here I'm seeing 22. But if you are making it for a person that intends to wear it somewhere, like for an event, or wear it to church, or to, you know, the mosque, or, you know, that the person intends to wear the dress and intends to be comfortable in the dress or the skirt, what you are going to do is you're going to come up by 2 inches. For me, this person is going to use it, intends to use it, so I'm going to come up by 2 inches. So from 22, if you have a knee, let's say you have a knee of 20, you go up by 18. So you just leave the knee so that the focus is not on the person's knee and it doesn't obstruct the person's movement. Okay, so you go up by 2 inches. For me it's 22. I'm going to come up to 20, and that's where I'm going to place my knee, so that we take the attention just slightly away from where the knee is going to be exactly. That way the person's knee is not locked and the person cannot run away if there is need for the person to run. All right, if the person is looking so, you know, so hot, and everybody at the event is pursuing the person to take pictures and plenty guys are toasting her, she should be able to at least run from the headache. You don't want to tie her in one place. So yeah, so make sure you come up by 2 inches. So now we have figured out our waist. This is where our hip line is going to sit. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark, you see this point, I'm marking here because my person intends to use the dress. So I've come up by 2 inches, and that's where I'm going to place the knee round. I'll tell you how to get the knee round. Okay, so now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark the length of the skirt at the bottom of the paper. Now if you are taking like regular skirt length or something like that, what you are going to do is you're going to come from the waist here and place the person's skirt length at wherever it is, be it down here, be it 40 or 40 something, you know, the person wants it to flow on the ground. Whatever he wants to do with the length, you do it at the end of the pattern. Here you mark the point, but I'm making a dress, so what we are going to do is for the dress we need to throw out 18 inches. My dress length is 62. Okay, 62. So you see this 62. So you see this, remember I threw away my 18 inches is sitting on the half-inch line that I ruled there, and at the end here, okay, I'm going to come and mark 62, which is a bit after my tape. Okay, so here down here is where we have the dress length. Okay, now let's start dividing certain measurements. Okay, so my waist, the distance around the top part of my you know, waist. Okay, it's waist, the distance around the top part of my waist is 2.0 after I have divided it. So I'm going to make a mark at 2 inches. Then at the hip, after dividing it 2.6, I'm going to make a mark at 2.6 here. Okay, and then now the next thing is the knee. How do you get the knee? Now before you divide the measurement I'm about to give to you, okay, let's say your knee. Okay, when you need the figure for your knee, like the 52 that we have for the hip, what you are going to do is this: you're going to subtract 8 inches from your hip measurements, and whatever number is left, you're going to use that for your knee. You don't I personally, because the method I'm showing you is the method that I have been using, the method that I use. So I don't take the measurement around the knee. What I do is I subtract 8 inches from my knee measurement, from my hip measurement, sorry. So my hip measurement is 42. 42 minus 8 is 34. Okay, so I'm going to divide 34 into 16 places, and I'm going to get 2.1. So it's basically 2. Now most people, when they're making their 8 pieces, what they do is they take their waist and they place it down here around the knee. That would work in this instance, but it won't work in every instance. If you meet a person that is pregnant, or a person that, you know, is big around the belly, or that is big up and small down, it won't work, because the person has a very big waist and has a small knee. You know, those are rare cases, but in order to save me from issues with that body type, I always subtract it from their hip, because if the body is narrowing down by the hip, it's already a bit narrow. So from here I can easily get here. If you're going to use a person that has a very big waist and use the waist down here, the skirt is going to come out straight, and that's not what you want. All right, so in this instance, if I place the two that I have here, and this is 2.1, they're interchangeable. The 0.1 doesn't really change a lot. So yeah, that is how I get my knee round for my pieces, skirts, for the 8 pieces. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to join the pieces together. So now we have this. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to add 1.5 inches. Now this 1.5 inches, we're going to add it here, and add it here. Okay, so add 1.5 here. Now next thing we have to work on is making it full. Okay, so I'm going to adjust the end of the paper. We know that this is where I marked the skirt length. Okay, this is where the skirt length stops. Now at the length, what are we going to do? What we're going to do for the center piece, okay, is I want you to make a mark See this point here. Okay, so up here we have 3.5. We're going to come to the bottom here and we're going to mark 3.5. okay, 3.5, and then I need you to connect it together. So basically mark 3.5. The next thing is to add the fullness that we want to the side. We're also going to add a fullness to the center, but I didn't add that before I started drafting, so that I would show you how you can always alter it to however long you want it to be, because it's an 8 piece, so there has to be a fullness in the center joining, as well as on the side. So I'm going to show you how to add your paper here in order to draft that part out before you go to your fabric. Okay, so now the next thing is, if you are a bit short on fabric and you're trying not to consume too much, at the bottom here you can mark 5 inches. Okay, you can mark 5 inches. That's the least amount of allowance from this line that I recommend that you keep if you are short on fabric. But if you are trying to go all out, once you hit 7 inches, you're already getting, you're already getting a bit crazy. Okay, so 7 inches is what I'm going to do here, and then we want to connect this 7 inches here, okay, to this point over here. So now we're going to roll a line, and then we're going to simply keep allowance at the bottom. So for me, I'm keeping only 1 inch at the bottom. Okay, then we're going to cut out the pattern. I'm going to cut out this pattern. I'm going to use this pattern to cut the back and the side, but then I'm going to also show you how to attach paper here in order to bring this side out too. Now that's the center piece. Okay, so if this is your first time attempting, let me give you some tips. If this is your first time attempting to make a pieces skirt, follow the steps I've just given you on the paper. Fold your fabric. Okay, keep your fabric on a fold and place on a fold like so, and place it on top, and look at how much fabric you have left before taking on the next step. If fabric is not an issue, okay, what you do is you cut a piece of fabric and add it, a piece of paper, and add it from here. See the way I taped this paper together? I'm going to do the same thing in front of here, and I'm going to keep 7 inches and show you what to do. Okay, so now this is the paper. Okay, I've added. It's simple. From here to here is 7 inches. I'm going to simply connect this to the top and cut it out. This pattern here will be used to cut the center piece. Alright, so now the front and the back pattern are very alike. The only place where there is a difference, okay, is at the back where you have your bum, and also that's the part that will hold the zipper. So what I have done now is this: when you're placing the front paper on top of the back to cut the back, you want to place it in such a way that you have 2 inches here. Okay, they have 2 inches from the edge of the paper. Okay, from the edge of the paper to where you place the first point should be 2 inches. What I want you to do is now mark these 2 inches everywhere. Okay, so mark the 2 inches everywhere. So from the end here, we're going to make a mark 2 inches. 2 inches. You see what I'm doing? I'm marking 2 inches everywhere. I'm going to do this all the way up to my zipper. Now remember, the back has the bum, so we need to make the back to curve and sit under the bum. Okay, so now what we're going to do is you're going to come to the hip line. You're going to draw a line. Okay, I'm simply just extending this my hip line out. Now next, and then also here to make a line here at here. Now the next thing I want you to do is come to the hip line. So from the hip line, I want you to come down. I want you to come down to where you have 7 inches. Okay, if the person has a big bum, okay, if the person has like a hip of like 43 up, you're going to come down 8 inches. But here I'm going to come to I'm going to come down to 8 inches. Okay, and I'm going to make a mark in by 1 inch. So here, make a mark here and make a mark at the end here, 1 inch. So from here to here, 1 inch. From this line to this point here, 1 inch. I'm going to make a curve from here to here. Okay, this is going to help us. You see this part here? We have formed the bum. You see that curve? We formed the bum under the skirt. And then I need you to come to connect here to here, and then simply taper this back in with the rest of the line. Okay, and then next thing I'm going to do is cut. So when you're cutting, see the line, just watch closely and see the line that I'm going to cut on. Okay, now as for the bottom part, okay, As for the bottom part and this side here, is going to be the same on this side, but here is where you will have the little difference. Please, so that you don't confuse, you don't confuse yourself, what you're going to do is you label all your sides. So here is the front, okay, this part here is the back. All right, so now I've placed my front on the side once again. Okay, now the difference between the side and the front is that here you're going to make here to be exactly the same, but on this part here you're going to keep your 2 inches for your sewing allowance. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to basically mark 2 inches everywhere on the side. And now I'm going to cut the pattern out. Okay, so you see this, I'm going to cut on the green line, but on this other part here I'll cut it exactly the same. So I've drafted the front, I've drafted the center, and I've drafted the back. So this is how I draft my pieces. This is how I draft my 8 pieces. All right, please make sure to see, if you're interested in how I made the bodies, make sure to see my 2 previous videos. All right, so I'm not going to show how to join them because that's basically joining everything, but make sure that you always keep your fabric on a fold before you cut. Okay, when it comes to pieces, you keep your fabric on the fold, place one pattern, cut it will give you 2 sides. Okay, as for the back, the same thing. So the front, you make your fold, place it, you cut it to give you 2 sides. The back, do the same thing, you fold, place it, you cut it, it will give you 2 sides. As for the side, you need 4 sides, 2 for the front and 2 for the back. So you need to make a fold and cut the sides twice. So you should have 2 sides that will make up the center of the front, 2 sides that make up center of the back, and 4 pieces that will make up the sides, the total amounts of the sides. So 1, 1, 2 on one side of the hip, 1, 2 on the back. All right, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope that this is going to be useful to somebody somewhere. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a nice day. Bye bye.